Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, and we're gonna have some fighting words. So, in this video, I want to talk about the big fight that happened over the weekend with Jake Paul and Ben Askren. It wasn't much of a fight; didn't last very long. I think it was like a minute or something. I'm not sure if we got the 2 full minutes. My first initial reaction was I think this is a host. I don't know. It seemed a little too simple. Maybe if Ben Askren were another YouTuber, or maybe a basketball player, football player, something like that. But although he is not a boxer, he still has started all of his fights on his feet. And I just find it a little hard to believe, number one, that he managed to get through all those fights and grab his opponent and take him down. And then he gets to Jake Paul and he doesn't know what an overhand right is. I don't know. I also noticed, if you go back to like I said, the fight wasn't very long, so it wouldn't take you long if you were to go back and look at it. If you look at the beginning of the fight, when Jake is, throwing a few shots at Ben blocks them. But it wasn't so much that he blocks them or that he dodged them, it's how he blocked and dodged. He would parry off or he would just slip. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because, number one, he has a history in combat, and he has a history of fighting people who, again, they're still going to start on your feet in MMA. You're coming from both corners, walking over to the other opponent. Not to mention, he's such a decorated wrestler that it would simply just be wise for you to fight him on his feet and not to allow him to take you down. And I'm pretty sure that's that's everybody's game plan if they're going to fight Ben Askren. Why would you fight somebody where they're comfortable? You wouldn't. It would make more sense for you to fight them in a place where they're uncomfortable. So again, I'm just going back to that to say that he has a history of being on his feet, a long history of being on his feet. He's not uncomfortable there because he's had to start all his fights there. And he's gone up against some pretty strong strikers. Again, this is Jake Paul's 3rd fight. So it's not like he's some accomplished, seasoned, veteran boxer. No, he's still very green, extremely green. And I don't know. With me personally, when I saw that, I just had my thoughts. I wasn't even sure if I was going to actually mention this, to be honest. But I felt like it's important to say, I saw the post and I said it looked a little fixed to me, and I was amazed how many people quickly responded and thought that I was correct in that assumption, and they backed me up in that assumption. So that's just the reason why I'm bringing it up. If Ben had not parried them off and slipped a few, would have been one thing. But he knew to do it, he knew how to do it, and he did it very cleanly because he was dealing with somebody who was very green. So that's just my thoughts on the fight. It wasn't, like I said in my earlier videos when it came to the fight, 1-3, I had Jake Paul winning by knockout. Anything past like 4 or 5, I was going to give it to Ben. He was probably going to grind it out. So, I mean, it still happened when I figured it would. And I'm not necessarily saying that Jake wasn't eventually going to do that if it would have went past the 2nd round. Maybe even the 3rd round. Who knows? He is bigger. He is younger. But Ben showed me some things that somebody who's been in a combative situation would know to do. So that's why I brought that up, and that's why I have my own little thoughts on that fight. But kudos to them. They made a ton of money. Ben Askren retired again. Walked out of there actually with a smile, with a big check. Him and his wife were smiling out of that place. So I'm happy for him, and he'll just go live his wrestling life and have his wrestling school, and great for him. The question is, what's next for Jake Paul? Well, after the fight, Dylan Dennis, who Jake originally wanted to fight, said that he'd be down to fight now. I think that comes from that comes from how much that fight generated. Let's just call a spade a spade. That comes from how much that fight generated. I think he realized me fighting in MMA guys and really putting my life, at risk for this amount of money versus me fighting Jake and getting this amount of money. Well, of course, I'm going to take that amount of money. So that's why I think he said yes. Do I think he'd get knocked out? Absolutely. Absolutely. In my eyes, I think Dylan Dennis is nothing more than a jiu-jitsu version of Ben Askren. His hands are not legit. He doesn't have any head movement. His footwork sucks. He's a legit black belt. He's the man on the ground, but standing up, he's a sitting duck. And I predict he would get knocked out in 1 to 3 rounds as well. I don't see him standing any type of a chance. But like Ben, he would walk out with a big fat check, which I'm pretty sure he'd be happy with. The other person who also called out Jake Paul. Now, this person, Jake and he have been going back and forth on Twitter, also on Instagram, just shooting shots at each other. Tommy Fury. Now, Tommy Fury, I think he has a record of like 2 or 3-0, which is, I believe it's 2-0, in which case Jake is now 3-0. The difference is Tommy Fury grew up in a gym. He grew up in a boxing gym, and his family members are boxers. He's been around it his whole life. He's been training in it his whole life. It's like swimming to him. Also, not to mention, Tommy Fury is built like a tank with muscles. I mean, the guy he looks like a bodybuilder. And he's Jake Paul's age as well. So you have somebody who's a lot bigger, same age. However, record-wise, you two are kind of on the same playing field. I mean, granted, the 2 individuals that Tommy had faced, they were legit boxers and they had legit records versus the YouTuber fighting an ex-basketball player and another YouTuber. And now a wrestler who never was regarded for his hands whatsoever. Out of the 2, which one will happen? Out of the 2, clearly it would be Dylan Dennis. It's not going to be Tommy Fury. I mean, Tommy Fury would... Honestly, I would run out of ways of saying how badly Tommy Fury would hurt Jake Paul in a fight. But, I mean, it's interesting, and the buzz is there, not to mention Tommy Fury, his last name. His last name in itself is a buzz. I think it would be interesting to have those 2, in a press conference. I also think it'd be interesting to have Dylan Dennis in a press conference. And that would also bring Jake Paul to his ultimate goal, which is Conor McGregor. Because him and Dylan are so close, if I can knock off your boy, then you might even feel a need to get that back. In which case, it would be easier for you to get in the ring with me. So, those are my thoughts. You tell me what you think down below. And as always, like and subscribe.